Dear chess friends, welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to the most spectacular game of the round 6 of the FIDE Grand Swiss in 2023. We have here Adhiban Baskaran against Eduardo Iturrizaga Bonelli in a sharp tactical battle that was an explosion all over the board. In my opinion, this game that I'll show you now will be voted, I think, for sure as one of the greatest chess games in 2023. Really a dirty chess game with the tactics all over the board. So pay good attention, put your seatbelts on and enjoy in the game of the day of the round 6 of this beautiful chess event. So with the white pieces, Adhiban opened with the move e4. We have c5 by Iturrizaga, the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, French Sicilian after move e6, d4, open Sicilian after c takes d4, knight to d4, a6, which becomes now of course the Khan variation, not allowing in some lines to jump with the knight on b5 and of course occupy the d6 weakness. We have bishop to d3, bishop to c5 by Iturrizaga, knight to b3 by Adhiban, and now bishop to e7, which the engine doesn't like. Still very often played in a very popular line to simply retreat with the bishop on e7, then go into the maybe neither structures with the move d6, but still a better choice is to proceed here with bishop to a7, keeping the bishop on this diagonal, but at least it has some kind of a good attacking chance here around the square f2. After move knight to b3 and bishop to e7, here Adhiban continues with knight to c3. We have d6. Now we have this sort of chevening or this neither structure, in which of course black has the opportunity later to break and enter with move e5 or d5, and of course has a progressive expansion here on this side of the board with the potential move b5. We have queen to e2 by Adhiban. We have knight to f6 and now f4, simply using now here the spaces. So on the king side, of course, here white is waiting black to castle on the king side and is of course launching then a flank attack with g4, h4, g5, h5 and similar stuff. Knight to c6 by Iturrizaga, bishop to e3, b5, and now for queenside castling, queen to c2. Here, of course, king to b1. It's, of course, a very often played move when you castle queenside, simply improving the position of the king. But now Iturrizaga started, I think, to play a couple of very decisive inaccuracies. First of all, what he did is, of course, he played now the move rook to b8. He's, of course, trying an expansion here on the queen side. He's, of course, also trying to attack with maybe a5, b4, if possible, and similar ideas. But here, I think a better choice is simply to play knight to b4, going for the light square bishop on d3, because this light square bishop is so far not so good, because it's blocked out by its own pawn. But in the later stage of the game, there are always this breakthrough motifs, e5, and then letting this bishop explode here on this diagonal. So as I said, knight to b4, maybe getting rid of the bishop pair in an early stage of the game would be also a decent choice for Iturrizaga. But he played the rook to b8. So this gives here Adhiban the chance to make further progress with the move g4. We have now the move h6, and Adhiban says, thank you. I will play here on my king side because I have an expansion here. I have the support of my bishops, and I will have also the support of the rooks. Basically, white is waiting now. What is black going to do? If black is going to stay with the king in the center, then we'll play f5, e5. If he castles, of course, king side, then we'll play something like g5 and similar stuff. So many good ideas are coming to my mind when I watch now white's position. I think black's position is already a little bit bad, because the king is still in the center and you didn't even attack already here the queen side. So in my opinion, white's attack is of course much more faster. So here h5 by Iturrizaga. He's trying to stop somehow white's progress on the king side. You can play g takes h5, which will be also a good choice. After knight to h5, queen to f2, building a beautiful queen and bishop battery. Then afterwards maybe hitting also the weakness on g7, breaking and entering with e5, f5. But here Adhiban played also a solid g5. After knight to g4, g6. This is the way to go. Beautiful move, beautiful pawn sacrifice in order to split all of the pawns in front of black's king, because after move f takes g6, of course, many weaknesses would be there, many targets, of course, that white could attack. b4 by Iturrizaga. We have g takes f6, g takes f7, this in between check. You have to react. King to f8, and now knight to a4. e5 here by Iturrizaga. Now he's finally battling for the center, but it's a little bit too slow, because this harmony of white's pieces, I think, is simply now too much to handle here for black. The king is naked on f8, and from this point on, I think this game is simply one-way ticket here in white's favor. We have bishop to c4, the most important move now of the game. I think you'll see how many problems black will have in the continuation with this very unpleasant pawn on f7, which is now supported by the bishop on c4. And what we're trying to do is get one of those knights maybe here to e6. If that happens, then it's a devastating here position for black. Here the continuation, again, a new inaccuracy by Iturrizaga. He played now the move bishop to d7. A better choice is again maybe to get rid of the bishop pair, but look how really tricky this position already is. For instance, we take now queen to e3. You're trying now maybe to move bishop to d7. Maybe you're trying somehow to get the knight on a4. Then we play simply bishop to d5. And look at this. Even if you liberate yourself the square here for the light square bishop, even if you attack the knight on a4, we can even play something like this: rook to d4. Look at this. You take, we play knight to d4, and you can never really take out now the knight because you're getting destroyed here around the square e6. That's the square that black needs to protect now in the continuation of the game. I'm showing you this line. This wasn't played in the game, but I wanted to show how really dangerous this position for black is, because it's a devastating attack now by white. So what you could do here maybe is prevent this with bishop to f6. You don't have to, of course, pick up now the knight, but we'll simply play then b3 here, rook to c8, rook to c1. Still afterwards I think you're getting destroyed. f5, maybe bishop to e6, bishop to e6, knight to e6. So you're getting simply destroyed, I think, around this huge weakness in black's camp around the square e6. After bishop to c4 here, Iturrizaga tried bishop to d7, immediately attacking now the knight on a4. And from this point on, this is really epic. This is really brutal what Adhiban did here. Maybe you can also pause the video and try to see now a progressive plan for white. What would you do now in this particular position? Let's practice maybe some middle game ideas, middle game strategies, middle game tactics, of course. What would you do now? Okay, here Adhiban played an amazing move, knight to c5, sacrifices simply the knight. Look at this, d takes c5. Now comes a beautiful follow-up, rook takes d7. This is the way to go, very wild stuff. After queen to d7, now the knight comes in a beautiful way into the game. What should you do? If you step back here to d6, this wasn't played in the game. In the game, bishop to c5 was played. Queen to d6 is actually the suggested move by the top engine, but it's again not working, I think. Look at this. We get simply here the knight on e6. You have to take it out. Now we attack the queen, and the queen is actually even trapped in this particular line. So it's simply not working. You can cover, but of course knight to d4 comes with the check. So I think after a couple more moves, you can also here resign the game. So after move knight to c5, here Iturrizaga tried bishop to c5. Of course, bishop to c5. You have to now cover with the knight on e7. Rook to d1 comes in the beautiful way again into the game, and now queen to c6, attacking simply the bishop on c5. Now another beautiful move here by Adhiban, queen to d3. He leaves simply the bishop unprotected, because if you pick up now here the piece, actually look at this, queen to d8, rook takes d8, rook takes d8, would be amazing and stunning checkmate here by the bishop's, pawn, and rook's activity. Very wild stuff. So you see, when you are on the attacking side, you have to always find your next best attacking move. It's simply not time to retreat anymore. You have to keep your pieces active, and that's how you play attacking chess. You always watch for the next really most aggressive move with the most optimal threat in your opponent's position. Queen to d3, really good move. Also, rook to d5 was a possibility, because you cannot, of course, pick up here the rook with the knight. Then the follow-up is, of course, queen to d3 again with same plans, rook to d8. Then if the queen somehow leaves the d8 square unprotected, so it would be then also a devastating position. So after queen to d3, we have now the move g5, and now Adhiban almost messed it up. I think many of us would play this move, because when you are on the attacking side, when you are playing really attractive, aggressive chess, then you want to keep the attacking flow. And of course, you're now thinking, I had many times the situation when I had really a beautiful attack, and then I wanted to finish the game off in the most spectacular way. But actually, sometimes chess is not working like that. Sometimes when you are on the attacking side, sometimes it's also important to slow down the pace of the attack. It's not always possible to deliver the most spectacular move, but Adhiban tried it out. Look at this. He tried out the spectacular queen to d8, which is actually not the best move. Actually, this game, this move leads now Iturrizaga back into the game. Actually, black can now force a draw. Look at this. A better choice was here to play bishop to b4, because now, of course, rook to b4 cannot be played because of this same threat here with queen to d8. Then, of course, you play something like this. We pick up the rook, then we promote a new queen. So this would be also a devastating attack again for black. So you could try after bishop to b4. You could, of course, try to attack now the bishop on b4, but now we simply retreat. And again, after something like, I don't know, e takes f4, this is again a messed up position. We'll simply include the queen into the game. You can never really leave the protection of this knight. We can also attack here the queen with the bishop. You can never really leave the protection of the 7th rank, and you cannot also leave the protection of the 8th rank, because you get always checked, or the queen is coming here. So it's still, I think, a messed up game here for black. That was the optimal move. So as I said, simply bishop to b4, then after queen to b7, here bishop to a3, and white keeps, of course, great attacking chances. But here Adhiban, as I said, played the most attractive move, queen to d8. Many of us, I think, would play this move because it's so beautiful. It's so attractive, because Adhiban gave already many material just in order to keep the attacking flow. But look at this. After queen to d8, rook to d8, rook takes d8, and king to g7. Now rook takes h8 was played by Adhiban, of course, but now Iturrizaga found a beautiful counterattack, or a nice defensive idea. Played now the beautiful knight to g6. Didn't, of course, take out now the rook on h8. Still has the great control of the f8 square, and is also here further attacking both of these bishops on the c file. So here rook to g8 by Adhiban. We have king to h7, f5, kicking away the knight. Very important move. The only move here for white in order to keep the progress here. But you see also the evaluation bar here. The game is very equal. It's a forced draw if black plays now the game correctly. After move f5, we have knight to f8 by Iturrizaga, and now after bishop to f8, now comes the crucial moment of this particular game. Here Iturrizaga made a huge blunder, played now queen to c4. This is not working. Actually, look at this. A better choice was here to play queen takes e4, because with the move of queen to e4, you're always threatening to deliver some checkmate here on the back rank. Then after something like rook to g7, king to h8, white in one moment has to, of course, liberate some squares for the king in order to escape from the potential checks. But now if we pick up simply the piece, it's a little bit different now. And after bishop to e7, now we can do perpetuals. If you play b3, then of course queen takes c2, queen to c1, queen takes c2, queen to c1, and similar stuff is simply, again, a thematic draw. This was the only chance. But here after move bishop to f8, here queen to c4 was played by Iturrizaga, and now Adhiban has a different opportunity here after rook to g7, king to h8. Now comes b3. Look at this. This gives here a white an extra tempo against the queen. Okay, you can deliver your check, but now you're trying, of course, to deliver check again. Perpetual is queen to c3, queen to e1, but now suddenly it's not working, because we can always sacrifice the bishop, and you don't have anymore the pawn that could support, of course, the queen on c3. Look at this here after a couple more moves. Now Adhiban simply got rid of this annoying pawn here after queen to b4. Now the check, and we have the promotion of the new queen, and from this point on it becomes simply a completely winning endgame here for white. Very wild stuff. Crazy game. Queen to f8, rook to f8, g takes h4. Here Adhiban also pushes now his pawn. Here Iturrizaga gets the king closer, but even if you try to push your pawn here to h3, then we simply push it too. And now after a couple more moves, both players would probably, of course, promote to queen, but actually white attack is, of course, much more dangerous. Black cannot even deliver a decent check here in this particular position. So if black would have started to push the pawn here on h3, this would be then also game over here for black. So after move f6, that's why king to g6. Now Adhiban pushed the pawn further. Iturrizaga gets the pawn here, gets the knight into the game. But now, of course, here
Adhiban is simply pushing also the pawn on the c file, and this is really devastating position here for black. h3, rook to g8. Now here Adhiban goes for this pawn, picks up now this annoying pawn, and now simply also pushes again further the pawn on the c file. h4, rook to e3, attacking now the pawn, knight, and now rook to e4. A beautiful endgame move, because what Adhiban realized here, that this promotion of the h1 pawn is of course lining up the king on this diagonal, and when we promote now the queen, there is always the possibility of a check, getting of course the queen behind, and will simply pick up the potential queen here on h1. And that's exactly what happened here. Both players promoted the queen, but now comes the check. You have to step back and the queen is lost. So after move queen to c6, actually in this position Iturrizaga simply resigned. So great game, great tactics, great ideas in the middle games. We have to say that Adhiban played here an awesome, spectacular game. Although probably both of them will not have great chances to win this event or something, because actually this game was played on the lower boards. But still, in my opinion, this was simply the game of the day. Really spectacular game. In my opinion, this could be really one of the greatest chess games in 2023 for sure. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas here in the French Sicilian. Great tactics, great sequences here produced by Adhiban. If you want to see some other common chess games here on my YouTube chess channel, here's the link of our playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.